Two large North Texas school districts are looking to do away with the class ranking system. Frisco ISD voted to end it last night. Plano ISD is taking a vote tonight. Fox 4's Lori Brown in Plano with the story.
Clarice, both Plano ISD and Frisco ISD began to study the class rank issue 2 years ago. That was right after an admissions case against UT Austin went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. That case started the conversation that class rank was hurting students in high-performing districts.
Grade point average was not meant to harm the student body, as it was simply designed to gauge a student's success. But over the years, a shift has occurred. Instead of a focus on learning, schools have instead focused heavily on grade performance. The question, will this be on the test, is far more common than what are we learning today. Students no longer attend school for the purpose of gaining knowledge, but rather to score higher grades than their peers. The root of this harmful shift in education is an increased emphasis on grade point average and class rank. Students' lives seem to revolve around maintaining grades that are routinely compared to their classmates, with some schools even resorting to a public GPA tracker. To keep up the high expectations, there has been an observed increase in stress, depression, cheating, and an unhealthy amount of competitiveness among students. To us, the problems that stem from GPA and class rank far outweigh the possible benefits. But as we are merely students, we decided to ask a teacher of 15 years, Tracy Borsatino, for her opinion on GPA and class rank.
Okay, what's your name, occupation, and involvement with students?
I am Tracy Borsatino, and I'm a teacher at Vines High School. And this is my 17th year of teaching, and I have worked with middle school and now 9th and 10th graders for the past 15 years.
What are your opinions on GPA and class rank?
I think in today's world of GPA, class rank is the highest stress factor for a lot of students whose parents put a lot of pressure on them to be top in their class, or who put too much pressure on themselves to be top in their class. And I think sometimes GPA becomes the guiding factor for school when it should be about experiences and learning, and not so much about where you land amongst other students.
Ms. Borsatino expresses her concerns over the stress put on students due to an intense focus on GPA and class rank. Students often drop extracurriculars to maintain a high GPA instead of doing what they love. In the next portion of the interview, we asked Ms. Borsatino if she has seen a different approach to learning in recent years. Here was her response.
And have you noticed a difference of how students approach GPA? Do you think there's a difference in competitiveness or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I was a student, and I went to Plano Senior High, and so graduated with close to 1,200 students, so I was still in a large class like you are. But when I was a student, we had AP classes, and we had gifted and talented programs, and those students became our valedictorians, and we knew who those bright kids were. And I remember being academic minded and wanting to be in AP classes and taking higher level classes, but I don't remember the competitiveness of rank. I don't remember colleges saying you have to be in this percentage. I don't remember. I mean, of course that existed, but I feel like a lot of us just wanted to go to college and not so much focus on where we were.
Yes, ma'am. So there's definitely a change in competitiveness. And have you noticed students competing against one another for higher GPA?
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, that's the culture that we've created somewhat as teachers and in Plano ISD, but it's because it's what colleges expect. They've created this where students have to be in the top percent to attend elite colleges. And so we have things like a GPA wall, and we have things, where kids, even our standard to be in higher level classes, we want you making a certain GPA to know that you're capable. And if everything is just so based on GPA, then that's all the students here, then that's what, guides
That's
some
what's
of
gonna
them.
drive them.
Well, yeah, and even in choosing classes, but I think sometimes it's not about taking every AP class that's offered so that you can have the highest GPA. Maybe you're sacrificing classes that you would thoroughly enjoy just because AP Psychology is the only class offered for AP credit, when you could be taking something that you may enjoy more and get more out of.
Again, Ms. Borsatino brings up the fact that students are potentially dropping classes they love for classes that can boost their GPA and class rank. This trend can be seen in the grade distribution chart, as in recent years there are considerably more grades in the 90s to 100 range than any other. And with pre-AP and AP classes, a 4.0 GPA is simply not enough to get by. The emphasis on GPA and class rank, which while there during her years in high school, were not as focused as they are now. This is creating an unhealthy, stressful, and competitive environment. A study shows that 75% of those surveyed have cheated in college, all in the name of a higher GPA. Next, we asked Ms. Borsatino on how she feels students are impacted by GPA and class rank outside of school.
And how do you think GPA impacts students outside of school?
Well, I will definitely say that I think it affects the social emotional health of our students, and in the home environment, I think students go home stressed. I'm talking about students who care about GPA. I think that if you are one of those students who wants to be in the top percent, I'm sure that it in some way affects your home life. And I think that it affects your family and your ability to interact with your friends and your brothers, your siblings, because your stress factor is so high that I can only imagine what it does to other relationships. And so I just think if students could be more relaxed going home and not have to read 20 pages out of an AP textbook every night, and if they didn't have the competitiveness of coming back to school the next day and having to be number one, that maybe they could go outside and play, or they could enjoy, and I know students are still doing that. They're still playing video games and they're on social media and they're doing teen things, but I still think that if you're trying to be in the top of your class, you're not enjoying life the way you should.
Ms. Borsatino reveals again her concerns over the mental health of students struggling to be the best of their peers. This deep-set competitiveness among students, though, can only end in failure, as just one can be valedictorian. This realization does not deter students, though, as many stay up nights in a row to study, or cheat to get an extra edge on their competitors. With depression, competition, and cheating running rampant in the halls of American schools stemming from GPA and class rank, we asked Ms. Borsatino our final question. If GPA and class rank were removed from schools, what would be the alternative?
And do you believe if GPA were to be removed from schools, how would it be? What would be the alternative for that?
I think a good resume is what matters. I think that from the college standpoint, I wish the college would look at the whole child, and I know that we are trying to move towards that. If we got rid of GPA and class rank, then what's left for the college to look at? Well, how they serve their community and how involved they were in school and the experience they gained from working and I think a well-rounded student is who we want in these colleges, not the student who studied so hard to be top of their class that they missed out on real life experiences, because those kids aren't always the most successful in college. And so when you put a student who's number one at Plano, who may have spent every Saturday and Sunday studying and learning while you were out, maybe living life and having fun or going to work or helping with your younger siblings or, just doing team things. When you go away to school, I feel like you're going to be more adapted to handling what college throws at you and the environment that you're in, where you're exposed to clubs and activities and constant commotion, and you're able to then function better than someone whose life revolved around studying in high school. So I think that a resume is a better, way. I would want to see a full resume to hire somebody. I would want to see a full resume for someone to work for me, or class rank isn't everything. So.
At the end of her response, Ms. Borsatino said something to us that resonated with our entire group.
The grades you made in high school do not reflect who you will be in the future. I think we should get rid of it.
Finally, Ms. Borsatino, teacher of 15 years, comes to the conclusion that the best course of action to protect the student body is to get rid of GPA and class rank, and for colleges to instead look at a student's overall resume instead of just their grades, as that does not tell an accurate story of who a student is. We decided to take a look at the effect disbanding class rank would have on college admissions, and discovered some shocking news. Jordan Goldman, who is moderating the Wall Street Journal special event inside the college admissions office, found news that shocked viewers, us included.
What about class rank? A lot of students are very concerned that they're kind of competing with their peers. Can they get to the top? And some schools don't report class rank at all. How important is class rank, and how do you weigh a student that has a class rank versus one who doesn't?
Fewer than, I'd say, 50% of the students in our applicant pool have class rank. So it's, the majority don't have it. And for all the students, the thing that we are most obsessed about is the transcript and understand the institution. And as Dick was saying, the grade distributions and, how many students get A's, what are the average GPAs, et cetera. We're trying to really understand that. So not really fixating on one number, which would be a class rank.
Over 50% of the students that applied didn't use class rank. They are instead judged by their overall application. So disbanding class rank would not inherently affect college applications for that specific college. But what about the Texas state law that requires class rank for the top 10% of the student body? Well, to us, the answer is simple. Keep a public class rank and GPA for students who are in the top 10%, but let the remaining 90 forget about the ranking structure. GPA and class rank may provide needed competition for a select few at the top of their class, but the remaining student body shouldn't have to suffer through the stress, dishonest behavior, and unhealthy learning environment. Let kids be kids. Finally, it seems that Plano will join the growing wave of schools to toss class rank. But is it too little, too late? Only time will tell.
But this affects me.
Frisco ISD will stop specific rankings for students who fall outside the top 10%. Plano ISD may follow suit.
Abolishing the rankings altogether would stop unhealthy competition, but it would also completely prevent there being a possibility of there being any healthy competition in the school.
Texas law requires districts to rank the top 10%, but under the new ranking system in Frisco, students outside the top 10% would be grouped by top 25%, top 50%, or top 75%. But Frisco ISD insists the move is good for students like Logan. The district says colleges would no longer be able to cut off consideration for students who finish outside the top 11 or 15%, but would have to consider the student's whole body of work.
We've got great students that are great candidates for colleges, and they weren't getting in simply because of that rank, again, despite the fact that they had a perfect GPA or really high test scores.
Highland Park, Coppell, and Carroll ISD have already ended class rank outside the top 10%, and they've seen more admissions to state schools.
Districts that have moved to a similar model, they've seen about a 23% increase into the Texas A&M University, and then a 16% increase into the University of Texas. And so statistically, it's been working every time.
Both Frisco ISD and Plano ISD did surveys that found many students felt like class rank was causing inappropriate stress.
Students were talking about how much they were even sleeping because of their AP loads.
Plano ISD did not want to make any statements before tonight's vote. The meeting here gets underway at 6 p.m. Clarice?
All right, we'll see what happens tonight.